Today we have something probably a lot of you were expecting a lot sooner on the channel. We're taking a look at the Kuriboh archetype. This is an interesting one because it was used by various people throughout various Yu-Gi-Oh shows, all except Arc 5 for some reason. And yeah, in 5Ds it was not even used by the main protagonist, which is weird. Anyway, they were next to Blue Eyes, the next thing which made Yu-Gi-Oh memorable, well, you know, except Dark Magician and Blue Eyes White Dragon. They were, I believe, the third monster category, which was what made Yu-Gi-Oh a selling factor back in the day. So yeah, let's take a look at the so-called Kuriboh archetype and start with the very original Kuriboh. It's a level 1 Fiend, 300 attack and 200 defense, which are the basic stats for Kuriboh. And during your opponent's turn, at the damage calculation, you can discard this card. You take no battle damage from that battle, and this is a quick effect. So yeah, back in the day, this wasn't the most optimal choice to stop attacks, but it was pretty high up there. It was one of the only possible ways to avoid battle damage and to save yourself from losing most of the time. So, I mean, it was pretty serviceable back in the day, but a lot of other cards in the archetype have rendered this original one pretty useless. So, anyway, next up we have the GX representative, the Winged Kuriboh. If this card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, for the rest of this turn you take no damage, no battle damage that is. And yeah, a bit better than the original one, but I would have loved it if it had kept the same discard effect as the original one did. But again, its field effect actually plays into the combo with one of their boss monsters, so yeah, we'll get to that. And now we have the 5Ds representative, Kuriboh. And now this is another field one. So if this card was selected as an attack target by an opponent's monster, you can activate this effect during damage calculation. You take no battle damage from this battle, your opponent gains life points equal to the attacking monster's attack, and you return this card to the hand. So I believe what the idea was here is to implement a Kuriboh-like Grand Mole to protect yourself from life points, but you just keep pumping your opponent with life points, so you have to work even harder to reduce them to 0. So I believe, yeah, maybe it works in some stall decks such as Final Countdown, but in a regular deck or a regular Kuriboh deck, it's not very recommended. So I would actually say that this is the worst Kuriboh that I've come across so far. Next up we have Coravolt, and this is the first Zexal representative because Zexal had 2 Kuribohs. And this one is, you can target one face-up Xyz monster that has Xyz material, detach one Xyz material from it, and if you do, special summon one Coravolt from your deck. This card cannot be used as a synchro material. Oh, it can't, and I was just about to compliment how this is an excellent Formula Synchron tech choice, but anyway, yeah. This is another Kuriboh monster that activates when it's face up on the field. But actually, I would actually dare call it good if it wasn't for its condition that you have to that your opponent has to be controlling an Xyz monster in order to summon it. I mean, in the Xyz days, it was a really generic and quite decent way to wipe Xyz materials away from a monster, as well as get some rank 1 fodder. But nowadays it can be used if you manage to pull its effect off as decent link fodder. So yeah, it could be a lot better if it didn't specifically require an Xyz monster to be face up, and that Xyz monster had to have Xyz materials attached to it. So yeah, very questionable card to consider running. Now here's an interesting one, Rainbow Kuriboh. It's a bit better than the Coravolt, and you can only use each effect of Rainbow Kuriboh once per turn. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can target that attacking monster, equip this card from your hand to that monster, and then it cannot attack, as long as it's of course equipped to that monster. And when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. Okay, so this is the second effect is some sort of a prototype Battle Fader, although I would prefer the original Battle Fader over this card's original effect any day of the week, since Battle Fader of course ends the battle phase upon being special summoned due to a direct attack. However, the first effect is actually very, very cool and decent. By simply, it's a straight upgrade over the original Kuriboh, since you know you can target the attacking monster and then that monster is rendered useless as long as this card is equipped to the monster that attacked. So you could actually prevent some really decent disruption regarding it. And yeah, it's a bit of a bummer that this thing targets, so yeah, you can't just stop a Crystal Wing or Dark Destroyer, so anyway. Next up we have Clear Kuriboh, not member of the Clear archetype, no, it is really not. And during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect that would inflict damage, you can discard this card, negate the activation, and when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard, draw one card. If it is a monster, you can special summon it, then change the attack target to it. You can only use this effect of Clear Kuriboh once per turn. So this is actually the best Kuriboh that we've come across so far. Not only does it prevent, it only prevents effect damage, which is completely understandable due to Trickstars being a thing. And not only that, it actually summons any monster from the graveyard, so... And it offers, well, you get to banish this card from the graveyard, draw one card, and if it was a monster, you summon it. Meaning you can summon really cool beat sticks. So yeah, this is a really nice card overall to have, and if you're building a Kuriboh deck, you always run 3 of these at all time. And now we have something yet more interesting, Sphere Kuriboh. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, change the attacking monster to defense position. You can when you ritual summon a monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard as one of the monsters required for the ritual summon. The second effect is completely out of place here, but the first effect is surprisingly lacking and mediocre, since the board is probably going to be plastered with Link monsters, so yeah, you get the point. Anyway, let's go on to the next monster, Coup Reborn. At the end of the battle phase, you can discard this card, then target one monster in your graveyard that was destroyed by battle and send there this turn, special summon it. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard and target any number of Kuriboh monsters in your graveyard, special summon them. Overall, a very nice support card for Archetype that was one card gimmick most of the time, and yeah, this card makes the whole Archetype tick and forces it to use its effect to their best extent. It works in conjunction with some of their spell cards, which we'll get into soon. So yeah, it's overall a very, very good card, and you should always max out on it, just like Clear Kuriboh. Next up we have their newest piece of support, Kuriboh. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can discard this card, then target one monster in either graveyard except this card, special summon it to your field but send it to the graveyard during the end phase. If this card is destroyed by battle or acquired a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add one Monster Reborn from your deck or graveyard to your hand during the end phase of this turn. You can only use each effect of Kuriboh once per turn. Okay, so this is actually the first card in the history of ever to ever search Monster Reborn, which is actually a very, very powerful effect. And not only that, it also special summons a monster from either graveyard, so it's a clear upgrade over Clear Kuriboh, pun absolutely intended. However, it doesn't offer draw power like Clear Kuriboh, so running both of these is still very much advisable. So yeah, this is really good. Next up we have their only level 3, Bandit. During the end phase, if this card was normal summoned this turn, you can tribute this card, excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, and you can add one excavated spell or trap to your hand, also send the remaining cards to the graveyard. Yeah, back in the day this was a decent searching of back rows, so it was completely would. However, this thing is actually ran at 3 in basically any Burning Abyss, Infernoid, and basically any rank 3 spam deck, since this is an extremely useful effect and it can even be searched out with tour guides. So yeah, all them rank 3 plays are instantly better with it, and tour guide, especially Burning Abyss ones, my god, those are disgusting. They recently made great Magnus with in their deck, which is something I assume nobody ever expected. So yeah, this is an okay card for the deck. And now here we have something completely out of place and bizarre. This is Winged Kuriboh level 9. And check this out. During either player's turn, as a Chain Link 3 or higher, you can special summon this card from your hand. Spell cards that have been activated are banished instead of being sent to the graveyard. The attack and defense of this card are each equal to the number of spell cards in your opponent's graveyard times 500. You can only control one face-up Winged Kuriboh level 9. Okay, so this thing has one of the most outrageously baffling special summoning conditions I have ever seen, and not to mention that its own effect works against its, well, other effect. First off, it banishes all spell cards that are activated, and it requires spell cards to be in the graveyard to be receiving the attack boost. What the hell? I mean, just what the hell? And it only works on the opponent's graveyards as well. So yeah, you genuinely want to avoid this, and if you really want Kuriboh boss monsters, it's gonna be Winged Kuriboh level 10. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned with transcended wings and cannot be special summoned by other ways. During your opponent's battle phase, you contribute this face-up card, destroy all attack position monsters your opponent controls, and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the combined original attack of those destroyed monsters. Transcended Wings is a spell card that allows you to special summon Winged Kuriboh level 10 for the cost of sending Winged Kuriboh and 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard. You can Transcended Wings also special summons from the hand or deck, so yeah, you can be a bit flexible there. But in terms of boss monsters, I mean, damn, this is a pretty good boss monster for the time, and it even sees play today if you're building a Kuriboh deck. I mean, since most of the field nowadays are gonna be link monsters, you're guaranteed to get a really decent amount of burn damage. It even disrupts extra links, which is, although if you disrupt an extra link, you probably have enough burn damage going around for a straight up kill. So yeah, this is a very, very nice card, although the spell card that summons this is a bit too costly, since it requires 2 cards from the hand as opposed to 1. If it was 1, I would say yeah, it's okay, but 2 is a bit too much for the time at least. Next up we have Wretched Ghost of the Attic, which I care to mention because he just belongs to the Kuriboh archetype and has no significance whatsoever. And now for the final monster, we have the extra deck monster, Link Kuriboh. It's a Cyber's level Link 1, 300 attack, requires 1 level 1 monster, and when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you contribute this card, change that opponent's monster's attack to 0 until the end of this turn. If this card is in your graveyard, quick effect, you contribute 1 level 1 monster, special summon this card, and you can only use this effect of Link Kuriboh once per turn. So yeah, among all Kuriboh monsters, this one sees the most plays out of all of them. Because, yeah, the Cyber's archetype has a lot of level 1s. Dotscaper is a decent card for this thing's revival effects, such as Glow Up Bulb. I mean, Glow Up Bulb, including this card, is a one card combo for Needle Fiber. It's just so magnificent. Yeah, you should always max out on this one. It's just that great. It offers decent protection and is overall a very amazing card. Next up we have the Quickplay spell Multiply. Target 1 face-up Kuriboh. Special summon as many Kuriboh tokens, same stats as Kuriboh, as possible in defense position. These tokens cannot be tributed for a tribute summon. Yeah, I believe it's a more specific version of Scapegoat, but this thing is really used for their other Quickplay spell, Detonate. Destroy as many Kuriboh and Kuriboh tokens you control as possible, then destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of Kuriboh and Kuriboh tokens destroyed by this effect is possible. It seems a bit convoluted at first, but this is actually a very strong removal effect. You wanna know why? Because this thing does not target. Yeah, this is just amazing. This thing can get over Dark Destroyer, because it doesn't target. Crystal Wing, anything that has some sort of convoluted and overpowered targeting protection. Yeah, it's just really great. So Detonate and Multiply used to be the key playmakers and valid Kuriboh decks in their inception, but yeah, nowadays it's a bit too finicky to consider running it, but still, if you have spots for it, you never want to go without it. Next up we have Berserker Crush, another quick play, and remove from play one monster from your graveyard. The attack and defense of one face-up winged Kuriboh you control become equal to the attack and defense of that monster until the end phase. And yeah, this is just like Detonate. It's a card you just basically build your entire deck around, and basically the best way possible to use this card is to Foolish Burial a Malefic Truth Dragon and then activate this to make a Winged Kuriboh 5000 attack beat stick, and then use Transcendent Wings to turn him into a Winged Kuriboh level 10 during the end phase if the opponent still has some monsters left. Anyway, it's a card you build your entire deck around, so run by preference. And our final quick play is Flute of Summoning Kuriboh. Add one Kuriboh or Winged Kuriboh from your deck to your hand, or special summon one Kuriboh or Winged Kuriboh from your deck. So yeah, this is basically a support card that you either want to use on Kuriboh to add it to your hand to activate its effect in order to negate battle damage, or special summon a Winged Kuriboh so you can either prevent damage for the rest of the turn, or use Transcendent Wings to go into level 10. So yeah, this is another card that you basically run 3 copies, and basically you're using it with Winged Kuriboh most of the time. And their final card is Sabatiel the Philosopher's Stone. If you have a Winged Kuriboh monster in your graveyard, pay half your life points, add one Polymerization spell card or Fusion spell card from your deck to your hand except the Fusion Wave Motion. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 3 copies of Sabatiel the Philosopher's Stone from your graveyard, then target one monster on the field. It gains attack equal to the attack of the monster on the field with the highest attack, your choice if tied, until the end of this turn. If you want to search Fusion spell cards, you run a Pride of Plantagen consisting of Orpheus Scorpio and Darling Cobra. But the attack boosting effect is a very bad honest effect, and considering the fact that most of the Kuriboh monsters by far are light monsters, you just want to run honest instead of this thing. I mean, if you want to, you can use Foolish Burial Goods to just dump additional copies of this to the graveyard. So yeah, not very recommended. Alright, time for the grade. Their consistency is flimsy. I mean, Bandit offers decent back row consistency, and Flute of Summoning Kuriboh is a thing, and Clear Kuriboh offers draw power. So yeah, it's there, but it's just not enough for me to bump it to a 2 out of 3, so 1 out of 3 it is. Power. Their strongest monster has 300 attacks, so 1 out of 3 there as well. And comeback ability basically relies on Coup Reborn or Multiply or Transcendent Wings at that matter. Even Berserker Crush in some various decks, so yeah, very specific situations, so again, it's a 1 out of 3. Protection, I would actually want to be generous and give them a 2 out of 3, because the field they work as a protection engine, it works pretty damn fine, and Link Kuriboh is the most played one, and its protection is really awesome, so yeah, 2 out of 3 there. And versatility, I would actually also want to give it a 2 out of 3, because these guys are really extremely splashable, and if other Kuriboh support comes out soon, it's probably gonna be as splashable as this one. So overall, this is a really cool nostalgic archetype, and I wouldn't like to have it any other way. Now that's out of the way, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Repo news and updates. Comment, like, and subscribe. And as usual, I'll upload the next part whenever I can. See you all, have a good day, and peace.